All right, welcome back to Close It Now. Sam Wakefield here, and I am honored and privileged, and you will also be honored and privileged to get to experience the genius that is this return guest. This is the second episode that we've done. So if you didn't check out episode number 1 with this guest, go back and listen to it. But today I have on the show Mr. Scott Sylvan Bell. He is a long time, just all around brilliant guy in a ton of different ways. But it's been in the HVAC for a long time. He's done a lot of different trainings with a whole lot of different industries. And it's actually one of the cool things we're going to talk about today is he's doing some really high ticket stuff. And so we're going to have some cool mindset conversations. So thank you for joining me again on this show, Mr. Scott Sylvan Bell.
Hey, Sam, first and foremost, thanks for the introduction. Thanks for the second invite of coming back.
Yeah.
Right? I'm psyched
Well,
to that
when you
idea.
bring great content, it's always nice to get invited back.
Yeah, it was funny. We were talking before this episode, and I was like, "Bring the heat, right? Give me everything you can. That's as hard as possible."
So we'll see if we can stump you today.
Perfect.
I know you're so well versed in so many things. It's very difficult to do, but it's always fun to try.
Yeah,
So getting into this a little bit. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I'm willing to take any effort that you throw at me, and then we'll laugh and giggle about it. Right?
Oh,
That's just the
100%.
way that it is.
100%. So I'm going to set some context here for this episode for everybody that's listening. So for all of you, if you don't know, and of course, Scott, I'll let you go into a little more of your history and background into this context piece here in a sec.
Yeah.
But so it's really fun across the last year or so, Scott and I have gotten to know each other. It's been really fun to recognize each of our zone of genius and what we prefer to train and who we prefer to train. So what we've really recognized is we align a lot in the way that we think and our philosophies. And his focus is a lot more into service technicians, and mine leans, more into the sales professional, comfort advisor, that type of role. But we've also recognized the amount of overlap that's there. It's this bridge that has to be handled appropriately, and no matter what type of model you're running in your business, if it's the selling tech model, if it's a turnover to a salesperson model, if it's a call by call management type of a model, there's room for all of it, but they all have to be handled appropriately. And so what's missing for most of the trainings in any industry, as well as most of the companies that I've ever seen these types of things implemented, is that bridge in between those two roles, the sales versus technician conversation. So many times there's a ton of animosity there too, that has just come out of resentment, come out of it for a lot of different reasons. And so that may be a good thing to talk about too, is how to keep that from happening and help to build a better culture. But for everybody listening, give everybody the highlight reel of your experience with when you were in the field, then into just the sheer number of people that you trained over the years, et cetera.
Yeah.
And fill us in here.
So I started. We're going to go back in history. Like I used to walk to school both ways. No feet, no shoes, like uphill
Uphill
in the
in the
rain.
snow both ways, right?
Yeah. So I got started in the trades in heating and air in late 2000s. My uncles had a heating and air company, and my dad owned a pest control company, and they were in the same office. So my dad's office was literally next to my uncle's office. And I walked in one day, and my uncle was there, and he's like, "Scott, how would you feel about being a sales guy and come and making some real money?" And then so my dad's in the office, and he's like, "Don't you try to poach my son." So my dad called me into his office, which was like 12 feet away.
Mhm.
And this was a nice building. And my dad was like, "Hey, it's time. You go ahead and go." So
Mhm.
took a crash course in Phoenix for a company called Contractor Success Group,
Mhm.
CSG. This was way back in the day.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
oldie.
yeah, we're gonna go way before Airtime 500, like all the old stuff. And flew to Colorado for a week, did some training, and I did train the company train. I did
Mhm.
their no pressure selling in like back to back weeks.
Mhm.
So one week I was in Colorado, the other week I was in Phoenix, and it was like October. So one week it was like, flip flops and shorts, and then I go to Colorado and it's snowing.
You get your
So
parka.
yeah, yeah, and I hate being cold. So like I just got to throw that in there. I don't like wearing shoes, and I hate being cold. So was a comfort advisor. My first year, I did 1 million in revenue in sales when that was a big deal. Like
Mhm.
you got to remember, systems were $4,000 and $5,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're talking and you're taking a look, that if somebody's doing $20,000 systems, it's the equivalent of doing a $4.2 million a year. Okay.
Yeah.
So about 5 years in, I mean, I was consistently hitting 1 million in sales.
Mhm.
And so about 5 years in, 6 years in, the uncles came to me and they said, "Hey, there's a better opportunity being a technician. We can get leads way cheaper, and
Mhm.
the cost of leads is way up. We would love for you to be a technician." And so I went to a crash course in Arkansas and spent 2 weeks in Arkansas. I'm pretty mechanically inclined. In my garage, I have like 4 rollaways. I've got more tools than I'll ever use in my life.
Mhm.
So, I go and I figure out, hey, this is low voltage and this is gas and it's just parts and pieces.
Yeah. System
So
of
my
operations, once you understand that.
Yeah, it's a ladder diagram, it's a schematic. So my first year as a full year as a technician, I did 1 million as well.
Mhm.
So to my knowledge, I was the first person to go from being a comfort advisor to being a tech and doing 1 million when 1 million was a big deal.
Mhm.
And then I've always been into communication and training and studying. And it was crazy because back then there was no podcasts. You could buy a book, you could buy an audio program,
Yeah.
and I would spend $100 a month
Mhm.
on CDs,
Yeah.
books on CDs,
Oh,
and
man,
and
this going down the road, swapping CDs all the time. I'm with you.
yeah, yeah, I made sure that I had a Case Logic binder because remember
Mhm.
this is before MP3s. Like this, you had to put them somewhere. And I started following a guy named Kevin Hogan, and I started buying and going through all of his content, and I started using that as a tech. Right, I started figuring out, hey, how do I communicate better? Because like this feels awkward and feels weird.
Yeah.
And then so the company came to me and said, "Hey, would you mind training tech?" So I started training technicians in 2006.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm 20 years in at this point. I trained a tech that was one of the first guys. He was one system short of hitting 3 million. He would have been the first guy to hit 3 million in the industry,
Ooh,
but he was
nice.
consistently hitting 2.7, 2.8, 2.9.
Mhm.
And so it went from there, and I started training comfort advisors. I started training technicians, and I came up with my own process.
Mhm.
Right. I started looking and saying, "Hey, this is crazy. We're building a bunch of resistance in the sales call.
Mhm.
Why? Let's make this a whole lot easier, and then let's
Right.
not do this with crazy pressure."
Mhm.
Like I'm not a pressure guy. I could train with pressure. I could sell with pressure, but I would rather make somebody make their own decision and have them be totally stoked about having a comfort advisor come out for a flipped lead or a turnover
Mhm.
than like you have to get one, and if you don't, like you're not going to ever get this discount.
Right.
Those leads don't sell, and you have to make massive discounts to get there, and those people end up being a pain.
Mhm. Yeah, no doubt.
So there's my long story history in about 4 minutes.
Love it, love it. Let's add one little piece because I've heard this number from you before, and I did the
Yeah.
math myself. At the peak of your training, how many people and what roles were you
Oh,
training for the company?
so I trained for a company here in Sacramento. It was my uncle's company. Before they sold to Champions Group, it's Bell Brothers. I was their corporate trainer for 10 years. So at the height, I trained 66 technicians a week. I trained 22 to 24 office staff, call center staff. I trained 12 plumbers and 22 salespeople. So my day consisted of starting at 7 in the morning, sometimes 6, depending upon the day, because I would train the installers too.
Mhm.
We were heavy into communication training, and everything was scripted. Whether people use it or not, everything was scripted. And so I would train technicians. Like if the installers came in, I would train them from 6 to 7. I would train one set of technicians from 7 to 8. Sometimes we would bring more in from 8 to 9 and some from 9 to 10. And then I would go to the comfort advisor training and I would work with comfort advisors and we would role play. We would have conversations.
Mhm.
We would work on door approach. We would work on explaining systems. We would work on closing deals. We had this thing called the Wizard program.
Mhm.
And that was where if you were in a house, you were in a home and you needed help closing the deal, you would call me. And I would do the same thing for technicians to set a lead. And so I probably sold just as much on the phone on speakerphone as I did real life. I calculated, I'm pretty sure that I was at like 15 million by the time that I was done selling,
Mhm.
but I also probably sold exactly that much over the phone in the Wizard program.
Mhm. Yeah, no doubt. And because you're the wizard.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that's what makes this episode fun because we've called in the magician for this conversation. So for everybody listening, this is the technician episode. We are going to really dive into there's two or three elements and components that Scott and I both agree that are some of the most important, and also they're the components in the technician conversation, and like that relationship between technician and advisors that is the most commonly missed or broken. So we're gonna attack the hard stuff today. So with that being said,
Sure.
I'm excited about this.
I'm still waiting for the hard stuff, just so you know.
Well, I know. So that's the cool thing is, the hard stuff is, if you don't know, it's more about being ignorant to it, I think,
Sure.
because if for most people they just don't know that there's a better way, and so they keep circling the same mountain, trying to do the same thing over and over and over, and trying to get different results. And they think if we just role play this better, if we practice this better, then it's going to improve. But the problem is they don't realize that what they're practicing and role playing is broken to start with. And so the
Sure.
results are never going to change because it's a broken model that they're functioning from.
Can I add the most common distinction that people do at this point? Like if you're a tech and
100%.
you're listening, like you're thinking, okay, this isn't working. I got to go heavier pressure. And it's exactly the opposite. Right. My teaching when I work with techs is very low pressure. The homeowner makes their own decision. It's not the thing. Your brain's going to tell you I have to apply pressure more to get this deal to close.
Hmm.
But in all realities, it's completely backwards. We're going to invert that thinking.
Love it, love it. So let's get into some things. So where do
Sure.
we want to start? Are we starting with the turnover conversation, or are we starting with more of just kind of an
Let-
overview here?
why don't we start with the lead?
Okay.
Right. So I just have this belief that if I'm going to go on a call, if I'm going to take a sales call, even for my own consulting business, I don't believe the notes.
Hmm.
Right. I'm meeting with a human being. Like, what do I need to know? What's their name? What's their business? Everything else is like, that's gobbledygook.
Hmm.
It's probably not true. I've been on enough discovery calls with business owners and entrepreneurs and offer owners, every industry and service, and almost every time, we go through, hey, just going to check some facts here real quick. You're doing 20 million a year in rev. No, we're doing 30. I'm like, well, you typed it in. Like,
Yeah.
you're the one
And
that's
then
wrong
come
here.
to find out it's more like 15.
That can happen too. Right?
Yeah.
People always want to look better than what they are. So you never believe the notes. Okay.
Hmm.
So my first rule about sales or persuasion or getting people to do anything, it's you against you first. It's you against everybody else second. And so whatever you believe, like if you're taking a call today, the only thing you should care about is what's the address and what's the name,
Hmm.
right? Like you can look at the notes from all the other sales guys, you can look at the notes from all the other people, uh, and it doesn't matter. So I'll tell you a story. I'm working on closing a significant deal, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hmm.
Okay, and the person that I was talking to had conversations. It was in the CRM. It was some data points, and I didn't look at it. Had no clue.
Hmm.
And the data on the CRM. This guy's difficult. He'll never close a deal. And I was oblivious to it because I never bothered to look.
Sure.
And so having a conversation with people on my team, and they're like, this guy was super difficult before. Like, he wasn't a problem for me.
Hmm.
And we're looking at getting a contract done. Like, that's never happened before. It's because I don't care about the notes.
Yeah.
Like, they're there, but they're probably not true.
Hmm.
So why don't we start there? Like,
I think
it's
that's
you.
a gorgeous place to start. And I can confirm this too. I was telling you before, we talked about this loosely before the episode. And for everybody listening, I mean, the last 4 to 5 years I was in the field, I literally didn't read the notes, not a single one. I read the name, I read the address, so I know where I'm going. The phone number, so I could call them ahead and send my on the way video, which if you're not doing, let's have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
But But that's it. I didn't read into, other than if a tech called me and said, "Hey, I've got theirs is not working. They're hot. Get over here," or vice versa. It's cold. Get over here. But I didn't need to know what it was because it's my job to do the discovery, not theirs. So that's my piece on that.
Yeah. Next would be a proper door approach.
Hmm.
So I trained a guy named Christopher Shaw. Christopher Shaw and I had been friends well before he was a comfort advisor, well before he was a technician. And we would meet off site every morning and we would practice the door approach 20, 30 times each.
Hmm.
Okay. And Christopher was crushing it. He was doing 2 million, 2.5, 3 million ish dollar years before anybody else.
Hmm.
And just an exceptional person, an exceptional. He owns a business now here in Sacramento. Awesome dude. Okay, so Chris and I would meet every single morning, and we would have a competition. Who could shine their shoes better? Who could iron their clothes better? We would go for the crease in our sleeves,
Hmm.
and who could have the best gig line. Now, your gig line is when you look down your shirt like this on video. You could see like, here's my gig line, and didn't meet your belt line.
Yeah.
And we started exactly on time, 6 o'clock. And we would role play the door approach. So much so because we didn't do this on site. We went off site so we wouldn't be a disruption. The people in the building knew the door approach, right? It was my dad when he was alive could do a better door approach than most technicians today. Like
Strictly
he
from overhearing you practice it, right?
well, we did it every single day for 3 years.
Yeah.
And people would say, "Hey, we want to come practice with you. We want to see what you're doing." So Monday through Thursday, we did this thing called the door. And on Friday, we did this thing called Freestyle Friday. And we would do everything we can to script out, hey, how do you explain this part in this piece?
Hmm.
You could name any part in a furnace and I can give you the one or two sentence explanation for it. Like, doesn't matter what the part is. Okay. Like we practiced over and over and
Hmm.
over again so that when we would have a conversation at 8 o'clock on our first call on a Monday morning, we were already 2 calls ahead of every other technician. And I'll tell you why. Because most people practice on their first 2 calls during the week.
Hmm.
So, okay, start doing some math. If there's 52 weeks in a year and you take 2 weeks off and you go, I'm better on 2 calls every week than everybody else, just by doing my door approach first thing in the morning on a Monday, I'm 100 leads ahead of everybody.
Hmm.
And if I'm 100 leads ahead of you, you're not going to ever catch me.
That's it. Yeah. No doubt. Well, because you can always outwork somebody,
Now,
even if
here's the
they're,
other thing.
yeah.
Let's take the inverse of that. Most people take Friday afternoon off.
Hmm.
Okay. So like Friday is a day that you really have to focus because it's easy. Like I'm done for the next couple of days.
Hmm.
So Friday afternoon was a major focus too, because when you start really thinking about it, if people take the first 2 calls of the week off, they typically take the last 2 calls of the week off unless they're really goal oriented. So
Hmm.
they're only really working 4 days a week.
Yep.
Okay. So if you're working 50 weeks out of the year, now we just flip the script. We're not just 100 leads ahead. Okay. We're 50 days ahead.
Hmm.
So when you start thinking like, how do I get my leverage? What ways do I leverage myself as a technician? You pray for lazy technicians.
Yes.
You like, I can't control what you do. You can't control what I do. It's me against me and sales first. It's everybody else second. I'm going to go for the best stats. I'm going to go for the best numbers for me.
Hmm.
Do I
Does
make
it?
mistakes? 100%. I am not a
Hmm.
perfect human being. Have I made a ton of mistakes? Every day, right?
Hmm.
So I never want anybody to think that I'm preaching, but I want to give you a competitive advantage. I want to give you an edge.
Yeah.
And when you start thinking, okay, where is everybody else falling down? They believe the show notes. They believe the call. They don't practice on Mondays. They don't go to bed early on Sunday night. They don't get up a few hours early on Monday,
Hmm.
right? You don't look at your goals every day. You don't, stay away from negative conversation. Like I do everything I can to not be a part of negative conversation. I know this was not the question where it started, but I want to
Right.
give techs and even salespeople this advantage of like, okay, I can tell you with almost 100% certainty that things are going to screw up a technician or a salesperson. And I'm going through this bucket for you for a reason.
Hmm.
Your Monday mornings, your Friday afternoons, what you tell yourself every morning and what you're practicing, who you're talking to on the phone calls in between calls and who you're not talking to. So I'm working on a $400,000 deal right now. I'll give you the number,
Mhm.
$400,000 deal. And so last night, I like shopping when nobody's in the store because I don't like sometimes I'm just an introvert. And so I've got my headphones in my ear. I got my Bluetooth headphones and I'm walking around and I'm role playing with my chat GPT. And
Mhm.
people are looking at me like I'm just an absolute loon. But I will put in the work when nobody else does.
Yes.
So like I start telling myself I've got a whiteboard in my bedroom and I look at it every single morning. Like it's my focus, it's my goals. My goals are recorded every single day. When I wake up, the first thing I listen to is my goal recordings. Like when I say it's you against you at first in sales and everybody else second, it's these small decisions that you make that allow for you to say, like, I'm either not going to do that or I'm going to do it.
Mhm.
I gave you a whole lot to unpack there, Sam.
No, that's good. This is beautiful because it's so much in alignment to what I talk about very often, which is, anyone can follow a step-by-step system. We can train a monkey to do that. It's
Mhm.
the difference maker and in fact, I was doing a Facebook Live this morning in the Facebook group. It's most people think if they're not super experienced, they think it's the big changes that are going to move the needle the most, but it's not. It's the smallest things that move the needle the most. It's how we do anything is how we do everything, and there's something that I just always fall back to in these conversations is this expression, this saying I heard years and years and years ago. First heard it when I was about 19, and it's leader of one, leader of many. If I can't lead one, I can't lead any. And of course, that one is yourself.
Yeah.
So it goes straight back to I have to lead myself first, which is exactly what you're saying, me against me, before it goes to anywhere else. And so the mindset around it is huge.
Yeah. There's a reason why I started here because you think for 10 years I took phone calls. It would be like this: Scott, I feel broken.
Hmm.
Scott, I'm not closing deals. Like my job, my role, my responsibility was talk people off the ledge.
Hmm.
So it was like, I would literally tell salespeople or technicians, don't call another tech. Don't call another salesperson if you're having a bad day. Call me.
Hmm.
Right? We'll talk about what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
Low on money. Like there's a certain amount of buckets that really cause people problems. Let's just go through 'em.
Sure.
No money, fighting with a significant other, problems with the family, problems with the parents,
Hmm.
um, and then physical issues. Like as we age, we all have physical issues. Okay. So not to go super crazy for you, but like if you're a man and you're starting to struggle in your 40s with some problems with a significant other, that affects your sales life.
No doubt.
And so like for me, if somebody comes to me and they're being genuine, I have like no filter, nothing's off the top because I want to see you do better in sales. So when somebody would come to me and they're like, "Hey Scott, I'm fighting with a significant other," I'm like, "Okay, what do we got to do to get you help?
Hmm.
How do we fix this? What's the fastest way? Like, go get a therapist." Like, you'll
Hmm.
never see me make fun of somebody for getting professional help.
No way.
Like, it's the wildest thing in sales. Um, there's no PPE except for what you put in your mind.
Hmm.
And so, like, if you're gonna go climb a ladder, they got ropes, they've got stanchions that you could put on your ladder. If you're gonna kneel, they got knee pads. But like mentally as a salesperson,
Hmm.
like the one thing that you need the most amount of help with is gonna be your mental stability. But for whatever reason, society makes fun of it. But if you're paid to
Yeah.
think, salespeople, technicians, you're paid to think, like you should protect that.
Hmm. I love this topic, and I've actually been talking to some people that focus on mental health that I'm going to have on the show here really soon as well. In fact, I'm in a conversation with a gentleman that does men's mental health. Period.
Good. I think
And
you should.
absolutely, and because it's so crucial. It's like, and you're exactly right. Our society shames that people get help for that. I could tell you story after story. I mean, from family history about that.
Yeah.
But so our generation, we're the ones that are breaking the mold on the ideas and concepts around that. And thankfully, the younger generations don't have near as much of a stigma for the most part. But it goes back to everything. It's like the mental blocks that happen. Sales is not, or sales in whatever capacity, service, comfort advisor, whatever role. I say this often. It's not the performance of the 45 minutes or the hour that we're in the house. It's the overflow of your life, and you can't pour from an empty cup. And so
Yep.
it's our responsibility to make sure that all of those areas of our life are straightened out. If our dog dies, it's going to affect it. If whatever happens, it's going to affect the daily life. How do we keep on Tony Robbins would say, how do we control our state management? How do we stay at that optimal prime place where we know that we all have those incredible moments in our lives where I know that right now anything I touch is going to be successful. We can feel it, and even if it's 30 seconds worth. So that's part of. I love this conversation, and I know you're an expert at helping people there. So I'd love for you to give us a couple tools for when we see those dominoes in our minds start to fall. How do we catch it sooner, and how do we
Yep.
get back out of those places to get back to the mentally where we need to be with a higher vibrational state, put more positivity, all those things.
Uh, I'm going to give you a couple of tools. One is talking to yourself and what you say. So I'm going to reveal real life issues that I've had personally because I really feel that this will give you depth. Okay. I spend probably 3 months a year on Oahu, and there's a drive from where I stay in Kaneohe to Haleiwa. And some days I'm listening to Hawaiian reggae, which is some of the best music on the planet. Some days I listen to books, and some days I just talk to myself. Okay. And so, I turned 50 this year. And so on the zeros and fives is when we really start looking and reflecting, like, where am I and where am I going and what am I doing?
Hmm.
And I had this heavy realization that over the last couple of years, I was stuck in a why loop. Now, why is a good question, but too many whys will get you into a point where you're not getting traction. It's like you could talk about, like, hey, why is this and why in that and
Hmm.
why? And one of the cool things that I learned from Chris Voss is that how and what are diagnostic questions. I went and saw him in March of last year. And I went to really good instructor, by the way. Probably one of the best events I've ever been to. There was 500 people there.
Hmm.
But I pulled him aside during the event and I was like, "Hey, tell me about this what, why, and how." And we kind of riffed for about 5 minutes. So I'm driving, and there's this point coming from Wahiwa where you're going into Haleiwa. And if you've been to Oahu and you know the land, it's going to make sense. It's downgrade into the North Shore. So you're seeing
This is
these
really
big
fun
giant
because I know
waves.
exactly the road you're on because I
Yeah.
remember being there as a kid.
Yeah. So it's 99. It's Highway 99.
Hmm.
And so I'm sitting there talking to myself. And I catch myself asking why? And I go, gosh dang it, I'm in a why loop. I'm in a why loop. Okay.
Hmm.
So that was the first thing. So I'm just driving and I'm silent and I'm just talking to myself. And I said, okay, usually it takes two things to be a catalyst. It takes, it's cool that I've identified that I'm stuck in a why loop. And if you're constantly asking why, it's a recognition. If you're constantly asking the same question, it's a recognition,
Hmm.
right? It's a clue. It doesn't mean it's the definite thing, but it's a clue. And then so I started thinking about an event that I had in my life that things did not go very well. And I made a promise to myself that I would never, it's kind of private, so I'll leave it blank. I'll never do dot, 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 nothing illegal, just, personal. I'll never do dot, dot, dot again. Well, that was a program that I put in my brain,
Hmm.
right? That was a decision that I had made, but it had an echo, it had a ripple. And it had put me in a point where I wasn't doing professionally everything that I needed to, because in this moment it was what I was talking to myself. So first and foremost, recognize what you're saying about yourself and recognize the conversations that are going on in your head. And one of the ways that you do that is you talk out loud.
Hmm.
If you're driving by yourself, who cares? It
Yeah.
looks like you're talking on the phone. Okay. And then second, start taking some notes. Like, what am I constantly telling myself?
Hmm.
There's a reason why every morning I wake up and I listen to my goals. Every quarter I record my goals. There's a reason why that's my focus in the morning. Like, most people check their emails, they turn on the news. I'm like, no, it's me time. It's me against me
Hmm.
first.
Yeah.
It's me against everybody else second.
People are
So
throning, sitting on the
yeah,
toilet, scrolling scroll holes, all of those things.
nope. I have video of me on so there's a reason why I go to Haleiwa every 90 days. It's a ritual for me to record my goals on the beach in my favorite place on the planet. Like, everybody, you don't have. I'm lucky. I've got Hawaii for me is an easy trip. You don't have to do that. You could go to the river. You could go to the ocean. You can go to the mountains. You can go to the desert. I would just find your happy spot and you just go out there and record your goals.
Mhm.
And this last trip, there was a bunch of people on the beach and I pull out my tripod and the waves were huge and the turtles were out. And I just go and this guy comes over to me. He's like, "What are you doing?" Like, I'm done. It took me 3 minutes and I was like, "I
Mhm.
record my goals." He goes, "You got some interesting goals. Let's talk about them." And I'm like, "Well, some of them are private, but I'm more than willing to discuss whatever you want." When people say, "Hey, Scott, train my techs," they mistake the conversations. This last 20 minutes that we've talked about, like, what are you thinking about? What are you doing? I can give you all the technical training in the world, turn your wrench, use your screwdriver,
Mhm.
stand here, say this. But if you don't have your mornings right, none of this matters.
Yeah.
And if you can't, like, let's say you fall off, like your first appointment on a Monday sucks. This is what one of the biggest problems that the techs and salespeople have.
Mhm.
9 o'clock appointment, 8 o'clock appointment, and it doesn't go well. And I've literally been on ride-alongs where realize, oh, there's my week. And I'm like, what? No,
What?
get out of the van. Like, we're not doing this. Motion creates emotion, right? We're going to walk around the block. We're going to have a conversation. We are not going to sit in the van. We are not going to, no, you're
Mhm.
not doing this, right? So
Mhm.
like some of it's a reset.
Yeah.
Some of it is, hey, listen, I'm talking bad to myself. Like every time I talk bad to myself, I literally smack my hand because I need
Mhm.
it to be a moment where I'm picking up on this stuff. Like
Yeah.
I've written multiple books on sales. I've got 4,000 videos on sales. I could talk to you about sales all day long. But if you don't pick up that, like, this is probably how you're thinking about your leads and what you're deciding to do before you go on your call is going to be the thing that fixes a lot of your problems.
Mhm. No doubt. This is such an important conversation that so let's unpack I'd love for you to unpack the way that we need to. So if somebody said, you know what, hey Scott, that's a great, brilliant idea. I want to record my goals to be able to play
Yeah.
for myself in the morning. What type of structure does that need to sound like? Or
Okay.
you
I'm
like
going to give
the
you mine. You
as if
can
it's
modify.
already done, the first person, third person looking in. Like, yeah, what kind of format? What are we looking at?
So this is a personal thing for everybody. And I'm going to say, first and foremost, just do it. Do it the first time. And then the second time's easier.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, I talk to myself. Like, you want me to pull it up?
Sure.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll play it.
Yes. Anything you obviously feel free to share or not share. But I think
Hey,
that
listen,
what stops
for
so
you and
many
your,
people is like, should I record and be like, I'm so happy and grateful that this is already done, or what's it need to sound? So they get
I'm a
lost in
fan
the
of that.
semantics of it.
I'm totally a fan of this. So I don't, yeah, can I get this? Let me, this is my goals and my leverage statement. Okay.
Okay.
Aloha, Scott. Welcome to 2026, the year of leverage, your leverage. You've got all the skills, talents, capabilities, tools, relationships, and know how to make this your best year ever. You got this. You know what needs to be done. Scott, you have the ability.
Love it.
Like,
Okay.
I don't know if you could hear that or not, but I mean,
Yeah,
I
it came
literally,
through really clearly.
okay. So I talk to myself and I'm like, I'm pumped. Like, Scott, come on, dude, you got this.
Hmm.
Like, let's go. Let's get this done. It's your year.
Hmm.
Like, and so like when I record, my birthday is March 30th. So it's the end of the first quarter, right? So I'll be in Tahiti. I booked tickets for Tahiti for my 50th birthday. You can bet that on my 50th birthday, I'm going to be in a glass bottom hut in Tahiti and I'm going to be shooting my goals. And I don't care who's there,
Hmm.
right? It's a big deal. Hey, Scott, dude, you are in Tahiti. Like, you got this. And then so part of this is I have this thing called an awesomeness swipe file. And an awesomeness swipe file is this: every time that something goes good in your life, you should document it somehow and you should put it in a file that you can look it up, because like there's days where I'm like, I suck. And then I'm like, that can't be true.
Hmm.
I've done courses with Jay Abraham. I've worked with Roland Frazier. I've closed multi-million-dollar deals. It is impossible for me to say that I suck. Right. So like, my name's Scott. Sometimes I screw up. Right. But I catch myself every opportunity to be like, I can't think like that.
Hmm.
So, look, this is a personal thing for everybody. However, whatever is going to get you results and
Hmm.
have you be comfortable, I'm going to say do that. If you're going to talk to yourself like, hey, Scott, you got this, or hey, we are going to do this. If
Hmm.
you're in a relationship, there's nothing wrong with we. right?
Yeah.
You got a team. You've got a relationship. I don't. So everything right now is me. So
Um,
however you're going to do it, just at least get it done.
this reminds my one of my favorite quotes is, success happens at the speed of implementation. And when you marry that together with this, the concept that, you can point your wheels in the right direction, but if you never actually roll the car, even if you're pointed in the wrong direction and you do it wrong, you can't even course correct until it starts moving. But
Yeah.
once it's moving, then we have the ability to change direction, and then okay, do it again, and we get better along the way. So it's that fear of failure that keeps us from even starting or trying at the beginning a lot of times.
So fear not getting started is 100% failure.
Hmm.
You have 100% failure rate by not doing.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
great reframe.
By taking one action, you've at least like, okay, well, it's a possibility. Now I'm playing the odds.
Yeah, now it went from 100% failure to now we're 50-50, right?
Hmm.
That's a
Yep.
pretty serious improvement.
It's fast. Like
Yeah.
that curve, that J curve can move quickly to your advantage.
Hmm. Oh, this is beautiful. So we're coming up on some time here, and one of the things that I want to do, and we were talking about this earlier, I'd like to dive in and give some people a little bit of boots on the ground ways to have some of their conversations a little bit better. And one of the pieces that we recognize that we were talking about is there's some differences in allowances between what a comfort advisor or sales role can do in a home versus a technician, what they're allowed to get away with and not. And that bridge in between is so crucial. So let's dive into what, the mindset around and what it takes to actually have a successful conversation to turn a repair ticket into, if it's a tech turnover to a salesperson or even turn it over to themselves. But that's in HVAC or any industry, the conversation is very similar. Just replace, furnace with garage door, furnace with
Sure.
whatever. But let's dive into this a little bit because I feel like this is such a missing piece, and you're right, most trainers never train it right. Um, in fact,
So I'm
you had also mentioned. So I'd love you to go into a little bit of what we were talking about. How you know people can be great in the field, but very seldom can train that. And so
yeah.
that's part of this conversation.
So let's start with that. This is not a knock against anybody. It's a skills conversation. Okay.
Hmm.
There's some people who are exceptionally good at setting leads and doing sales. There's some people who are exceptionally well at coaching and training. But not everybody who coaches and training can do exceptionally well at sales, and not everybody who can do well at sales can do coaching and training.
Hmm.
But the- recognize game for what it is.
Right.
Okay. The the person who's a hybrid that can do both is rare.
Hmm.
So, I laugh at this saying that those who can't do teach.
Same.
And in my mind, you're not recognizing that it's an individual task or skill. Like, so
Hmm.
if I said, how fast can you change a gas valve in a brand of furnace? And like somebody's like, I got that down. Like, but if you ask that person, how fast could you train somebody on objections? It's a task, but it's a completely different skill.
Hmm.
So if you have a coach or a trainer and they're exceptionally good at helping you close deals and answer questions and some of the mental things that go on in sales, you can't care if they know how to turn a wrench.
Yeah.
Like that's like sometimes you got to ask, am I just looking for reasons to say no? Like this is as an objection. Remember, I'm just very straightforward and to the point.
Hmm.
Like, are we looking for reasons to do this or not do this?
Yeah.
So sometimes people go, well, I don't want to say it that way. Like 99% of the stuff that I train, I'm like, say it however you want. But like 1%, don't deviate from what I'm doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
This is crafted in a way very specifically for this reason. Everything else you can have liberty with.
Yeah. There's certain statements that you should practice hundreds, if not thousands of times to get them down. Okay.
Hmm.
So you're asking about a tech set lead for whatever product or service.
Right.
I have a strong belief and this is going to go against what a lot of people believe, but there's a lot of reason why I do it.
And this is
If
why I
I'm at,
wanted to cover it today.
if I'm at your home and I'm meeting you with you and your significant other, and we're talking about a garage door, we're talking about a furnace, we're talking about a water heater. I don't care what the product. It is my role and responsibility to confirm that that is a real deal, and I should blow up the lead.
Hmm.
Okay. I am going to 100% blow up that lead. I'm going to say, hey, before we set this appointment, I want to make sure that you're comfortable with having me have somebody come out, and this is something you want to do. Okay. And then I'm going to pause and I'm going to shut my freaking pie hole.
Hmm.
That's a technical term. Okay. And you're gonna get a couple of responses back. One of them is like, yeah, I want this done. One of them is the people get really adamant. They're like, yes, I can't believe you're asking me that. And one that you're actually hoping for is, no, I don't want to do this.
Hmm.
Because if you don't, you can find out the reason why. Maybe they don't trust you. Maybe they don't like you. Okay. Now, let's say that you say yes, which is good. That should happen about 80% of the time. It's 80-20.
Hmm.
If you get 20% of people say, don't send somebody out, you're okay.
Yeah.
You did your job, because now the comfort advisor is going to say, hey, thanks for setting a really good lead.
Hmm.
Just my preference after writing on thousands of calls. Next, I am going to pump the person who's coming out. So, Sam, if you're the homeowner and I've called in and we've got somebody coming out, I am going to build up that person. Okay.
Hmm.
So let's say it's me going out as a comfort advisor from a tech set lead. I'm like, you're going to love Scott. He's got a world famous recipe for salmon. Dude, he's got a 34-pound cat. Like, you are going to love Scott. He's kind of to the point, right? He's pretty straightforward and to the point, but you're going to freaking love him. Like, your job is to make sure the appointment is real and then build that person who's coming
Hmm.
up out.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're not going to steal their thunder. You're not going to go over warranties and guarantees. Like, and when someone's like, well, how much is it? I mean, I don't know what you're going to pick. I
Hmm.
don't, I just know that, your solutions can start at about $150 a month. Well, can you give me a definite number? That's why we got Scott coming out. You're going
Yeah.
to love him. He's a lot of fun, right? He's a bald dude. He's got a 34-pound cat. He's got a perfect salmon recipe. World famous. Everybody loves it. Well, now there's an expectation set of what the salesperson's going to be like.
Hmm.
And then when you leave, you thank the person. Thanks for trusting me.
Yeah. And
That's a good set lead.
I love this piece because this is where so many people fall off. Either they're, and I've shown up to so many appointments that were, why are you here? I told them I didn't want anybody coming, and they still sent people. So then, of course, the trust for the company, trust for the people, all of that's gone. And then also showed up to appointments that were, yeah, we just kind of want to think about it. So I love that you like truly lock it in
Mhm.
before that's actually set. And we don't send somebody if they don't say yes.
The
We
problem
actually honor their wishes.
the problem is, let's say that you and your significant other are twisted your arm to get an appointment.
Hmm.
Okay. I've put you on the market. If that deal doesn't close, you're on the market.
Hmm.
Okay. I've burnt that lead. So you know what happens is tech goes out the next time to finish the tune up and there's a brand new shiny system. And you're like, what happened? Well, we had Chuck in a truck come out
Hmm.
and we just had to go with him because he was half as much. Like, there is a value sometimes to not putting somebody on the market
Hmm.
versus, trying to. Now, I worked for a big company. So I understand, like, hey, we got to get leads and we got to keep the installers busy. Right. So if an owner is listening and they're like, oh, Scott, like, come on, like, we need those leads. Like, well, this comes back to how was that lead treated from the technician. So if you catch yourself going, why don't we just have somebody come out because I get points for it? Or why don't we just have somebody come out, like, you're doing something wrong in your sales process.
Hmm.
Like, that person should be on board and saying, hey, let's get somebody to come out here and go over options.
Yeah.
Can we go backwards a second?
Sure. Of course.
You're going to get there by telling facts, right? So if I'm looking at a capacitator and that thing has a rating of 5 and it's got a plus or minus of 6%, let me share something with you, Sam. look, I took a look at your capacitor. These are backup sources of energy, almost like a battery. Electrical current has peaks and valleys. When electrical current isn't complete for a motor, it burns out the motor. It has a potential to. Your capacitor is rated at 5. The minimum it could test out is a 4.7. It's tested out at 3.3. It's bad.
Mhm.
Going through and giving a fact-based explanation of, like, here's the facts about what's going on. It's not emotional. It
Mhm.
is what it is. And where techs really screw up is where they're like, well, it's kind of bad. Like, is it bad or not bad?
Yeah.
Like, you can look at a flat tire and go, well, it's round on the top.
Yeah. That's totally what I love
But
to say. There's no room for um, in indefinite language. We have no room for language in what we do that is uncertain. No room for uncertainty. It either is or isn't. It's not
I can
kind of.
tell you what I can tell you with 100% certainty when your system breaks, it's when you need it the most. You're not using it on a nice day.
Mhm.
You're using it on the hottest day of the year or the coldest day of the year. So when's it going to break? So when people go like, well, how long do I have left? Like, we're asking the wrong question.
Mhm.
It's what day is it going to break when it does break?
Yeah.
Is it going to be Christmas? Is it going to be Valentine's Day? Is it going to be 4th of July weekend? Is it going to be the day that everybody's on the wedding? Is it going to be the day that everybody's in a funeral? Like, if
Mhm.
you've been a tech, you've been to every event there is in life. I've been to them all: weddings, funerals, birthdays,
Mhm.
divorce parties. Like, I
Every
would,
holiday. Yep.
I cannot think of a time where someone's like, today was the perfect day for the furnace to break. No, every time I had that story, it was like, today's the worst day for this to happen. You're meeting
Mhm.
somebody at the worst day of their life.
Mhm.
Right? What are you
I
going to be
love
like?
that's such a powerful reframe in that piece of the conversation. And so for everybody that's listening, go back and replay that because it's absolutely gold right there. Um, this this is such a good conversation. There's so many places that I want to take this conversation, but we don't have a ton of time.
I'll
So
come
I've
back,
got
Sam.
one surprise topic, but
Okay,
before we get to the surprise topic, and this is actually it's to some people it's controversial. Um, Before we get to, let's tell everyone a little bit of what we're going to be doing. As far as we've got some more content coming up, and then also an opportunity for some training that we have. So
sure.
you want to run with this one?
Yeah, Sam and I have a lot of similar traits and beliefs when it comes to coaching and training. And one of the things that we've been talking about doing is I'll train technicians. He trains the comfort advisors. Right. I have every skill and talent to train comfort advisors, but it's not where I want to be, and it's not what I want to do. I am the best in the world at training technicians. I know it's a very, like, wow, that's a huge statement, Scott. Like, I've written 5 books, I've got 1,200 videos, like, I've got thousands of hours in front of the room. You're not going to catch me. And if you're looking for somebody who's got the skills, talents, and capabilities to train comfort advisors, that's Sam. So it's like, why not bring in both the best of both worlds? So that's what we're up to.
Yeah, yeah, we are. And if you want to know more about that, of course, reach out. You go to the show notes. I'll give you all the contact information here at the end of the show, and we can have a conversation. Make sure it's a good fit, and see what your goals are and what you're wanting to accomplish.
Yeah,
And then also be on the lookout, everybody. We're going to be doing both I'm sure some, obviously more podcasts in the future as new topics come up, but we're also going to be doing some live, some webinars coming up on some different topics where we have more time to really dive in and get a lot deeper on some things. So really excited about that. I've got some ideas off the we like to go so far off the reservation from what the normal trainings are because we've recognized that the biggest pieces actually move the needle for you the least. And it's the components that everyone's scared to talk about that nobody wants to cover that are actually the ones that are going to get you the biggest amount of results and especially for the long run, and it's not just a flash in the pan type of result. So be on the lookout. Join the Facebook group if you're not. Scott also has a Facebook group. So give everybody your contact information
yeah.
and your YouTube, the Facebook group, all the things, and then we'll get to the last topic I want to cover.
HVAC technicians sell secrets is my Facebook group. It's also the YouTube channel, HVAC technicians sell secrets. As of today, I'm 2 weeks away from today from having 1,200 videos. So I've put up a YouTube video every day for the last 3 years. I have not missed. And, some of it's the psychology, some of it's closing deals, some of it's me just talking about life. Like, I have this belief that, if you really wanna know who's coaching and training you, they should have some content.
Mhm.
They should be able to like, "Hey, I've got this." I mean, uh,
Yeah,
those
this
are
week
probably
I've
the
got,
easiest.
I think, episode 275 is going up in the podcast, right? So
Hey,
we both have made a lot of content over the last few years.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. The average podcast has 9 episodes. Like,
Yeah.
so let's put that in perspective. Most people are like, "Hey, I wanna do a podcast," and they get started like, "Oh, I didn't realize how hard this is," right? I gotta
Yeah.
edit, and I gotta put all this stuff together, and so, like, they're like 9, that's it.
Mhm.
9 podcasts. So when you hit the 100 or the century mark or any of the century marks, 100, 200, or 300 is a big deal.
Mhm. Yeah, it's definitely been fun, that's for sure. And most importantly, it helps shape who you are as a person because the growth that comes through anything when you so the lesson, of course, here is consistency for everybody. When you stay consistent with something for long enough, it will definitely define the way you think about things and shape a lot of things that you don't expect. And it builds character in a way in every other area of your life. When you stay consistent with one thing, and again, how you do what anything is how you do everything, so it starts to carry through to all of the other components that are needle movers that make the difference for you. So surprise topic. I want to hear. I want to get your take on this.
Okay.
There's this is and I've heard it is definitely a polarizing topic. And my take on it is, I think it has to do with how you frame it. I think inherently it's not good or bad, but it's how it's positioned. So I was asked a couple days ago by a new coaching client. He's like, "Hey, what do you feel about?" We were talking about the referencing one person in general. He keeps copies of as many quotes from competitors as he possibly can and uses that in his closing sequence to close the deal. And I said, "Well, my take is it can either be a tool or a weapon. It just depends on how you present it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts around that."
I successfully used that a lot in my career. As a team, 2007, 2008, in order to get to the table, everybody had to bring 3 proposals, and we photocopied them. And so we had stacks,
Hmm.
stacks. It's one tool that you could use. It's some people, just like anything else, some people rely heavily on one tool to close a deal.
Hmm.
But I will tell you this, if you have a company that's got warranties and guarantees, like, and, money back, time on
Hmm.
site, there's nothing wrong with saying XYZ company does not bring anything that we bring to the table. Of course they're less.
Hmm.
Okay. So why don't we just go line by line? I happen to have their warranties and everything memorized. They've got one. It's a tail light warranty. As soon as the tail lights are gone, warranty is over.
Hmm.
Now, if you're going to invest any amount of money inside of your home, inside of your company, inside of your organization, would it not make sense to make sure that you're protected with what you do? And so I don't have a problem with it, but if it becomes a crutch, and that's the only thing you have to sell, I would say get more skills.
Yeah.
I would say get some more coaching and training. If you're sitting at a table and you don't need to use it, you're creating a problem that you don't need to have. I'll
Hmm.
tell you that. Like I've hi, my name's Scott. I've screwed up a lot. And so I would introduce this too soon. So I would sit down with people and like, hey, let's have this conversation. And here's this company. And would cause them to go talk to XYZ company or one,
Hmm.
two, three or ABC. There's a time and place for every closing technique,
Yeah.
no matter what it is. Like I could be super aggressive, but does that mean I need to be super aggressive on every call? No, sometimes you need to be the pussycat.
Yep.
So um, I don't really think it's as controversial as you may think that it is.
Hmm.
I don't have a problem with it. It's like saying, should you do a porch light close? Like, should you say, hey, why don't you let me step outside for a couple of minutes?
It's one of my favorites.
I've sold millions of dollars on a porch light close.
Yeah. Same.
So there's a copywriter named John Carlton. John Carlton is one of the OGs when it comes to writing ads. Like he's been around for a long time. And so he's got this book called The Entrepreneur's Guide to Getting Your Crap Together. I'm going to edit it for your video here. And one of the things that I saw John Carlton talk about like 2006 and 2007 was like listen, when somebody's successful, don't judge them for what they're doing as long as it's ethical and moral.
Mhm.
There might be something you can learn from it. I'm
Yeah.
giving you the gist. This isn't exactly how he said it. So, would I use it on every call? No. But is it a tool you can absolutely use?
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, there you do have, like, I will give you this one caveat. You do have to be moral and ethical about it and not make anything up about a company.
Mhm.
That that could come back to bite you in legal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We don't want to fall into slander, for sure. And I those types of things, I think of the way I like to describe it is, especially coming from a technician's mindset, is like you've got your tool bag, and we all know that, you've got your really three or four tools maybe that you're going to use on every single time that you show up at a house. At the same time, you don't only have those three or four tools, you've got 40 tools. And most of the time you're not using every single tool in the job. However, the time that you come across the one that needs that specific tool, that's the only thing that'll work for that moment. And so I feel like this is one of those that, are you use it every time? Absolutely not. But when it does apply, then it very much applies. And that's a
I
huge
could
part of
use
the
a
difference.
I could use a screwdriver as a hammer. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean it's going to work. I will share this with you because I've been on the receiving end of trying to fix a bunch of lost calls where somebody calls back and cancels.
Mhm.
If I was a salesperson in any technique and you're having a significant number of cancellations, I would be looking at what you're doing to close
Yeah.
and what promises that you're making.
Mhm.
So if you're doing deep discounting to get a close, I was on with a
The
consulting
I'm
client
glad you
yesterday.
mentioned this because I was gonna ask you about discounting, here
Yeah.
in those the next
It,
part 2 of this.
discounting has its place.
Mhm.
And you can prime people to be the most difficult people on the planet, right?
Mhm.
And so I was on with a consulting client in a completely different industry last night, and they were talking about, hey, we've had cancellations and churn, and I said, do you know your cancellations and churn by salesperson? And they said, no, and I said that's something to look into. Okay,
Mhm.
so I know a guy named Mitch. Mitch happens to be one of the best salespeople that I know on the planet. When I was his sales manager, if he got a cancellation, it was like once a year, and he legitimately, no fakies, closed at about an 80 or 90% rate, right? And he
Mhm.
hardly ever discounted. It's one of those things that's unbelievable. There's like,
Yeah.
when you start figuring out like 1 out of 1,000 salespeople, he was the 1 out of 1,000 or 1 out of 10,000. Okay.
Mhm.
But if you're in a slump, I would pay attention to your discounts. And if you're a business owner or manager, it's not abnormal for salespeople to have a cancellation rate.
Mhm.
And the dogs are on cue. They're like, "What's up?" Right?
Yep, they're, emphasizing what you're saying here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in marketing, there's a guy named Dan Kennedy, and Dan
Mhm.
Kennedy has taught for 20, 30, 40 years that if you don't have a cancellation rate, you're not pushing hard enough. So I'm not, I can sell hardcore clothes and all that stuff. I don't choose to do it. Um, but there are people who overpromise on the close. There's people who over discount on the close.
Mhm.
Discounting is a tool just like anything else.
Yeah.
Can you do it? Yeah. Should you go super aggressive? There's a time and place for everything. But the thing is, really start looking for the patterns. And if you have somebody that's on the team and they're consistently having cancellations, they're a discounter. I'm just
Mhm.
going to tell you what it is. They're a heavy discounter. They sell on price,
Mhm.
right? That's a problem sometimes you can fix and sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's just a period of life.
Mhm.
Just trying to get stuff. I got personal issues trying to close deals. And sometimes the stars align in the universe and it's just like, here's what happens. You have a run of cancellations, you get a run of closes, you get a run of cheap buyers, you get a run of expensive buyers who buy everything. And it's like, I will just share with you, like, if you're looking for fair, it's not fair, but sometimes you wake up in the morning and it's just like, I just hit my luck. It's
Yeah.
the universe saying, get some more skills, or
I
it's the
love that
universe
you've
saying, pay attention.
I love that you've paid attention to that data because I do the same thing over time. I just inherently watch different trends, and I've said for years, you're a type of everybody that's been in the field very long knows this. The type of appointments you get seem to go in waves, and so
It cycles.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't get a mini split quote forever, and then that's all I would have for a solid week, or whatever it is, whatever the thing is. It's like all of a sudden, this is all I'm getting. What in the world? And so it's like following the cycles. That's why it's so important to one. first of all, we zoom in on what's going on to the micro, but it's so important to remember to zoom out to the macro and look at everything from a bigger picture and really look at trends over time, because that tells the real story. As it might just be a momentary season of something versus somebody's truly changed, good or bad. Of course, mindset and all that, and slumps and stuff, but it could just be there's a little season of something going on too. So understanding the bigger picture and the bigger dynamics, the economics of there's so many things going on, especially right now. It's such a controversial political climate in North America, in the United States, and globally at this point, that it doesn't mean that people aren't still willing and able to invest in their homes and invest in their lives. However, we have to understand that all the complexities are happening, and we have to understand how to have these conversations slightly differently sometimes, and how to navigate. And sometimes it just takes going over the top and showing extra value. So I'd love to get a little bit of commentary from you around just that type of concept of how directly impactful is the macro, and how much of that do we need to understand to navigate through our daily lives of sales and service.
There's a thing in the mind called the reticular activating system, the RAS. And there's a saying that Tony Robbins used, where focus goes, energy flows.
Hmm.
And so if I tell you it's a good day and I believe it's a good day, that's my decision. If I wake up and I say it's going to be a crappy day, everything that from that point on is going to be a crappy day. This is why in the very beginning I shared how you start your day matters,
Hmm.
and what you choose to focus on matters. And so if I'm having a bad week, it just like I just sometimes have to remind myself it's a bad time. Like personally right now, I'm in a sell slump. 100%. But like I just got to go, that's part of the gig. That's part of, if you're looking at a chart and you're zoomed in, it's going to look horrible. If you pull back, it's going to be like it was just a grid on a square,
Hmm.
right? It's a thing that happens. And so if you treat it the way that you're supposed to and say, okay, let me pull back for a minute and let me have a conversation with myself and say, what's going on right now?
Hmm.
What's the situation? Right? Okay. Scott's in a cell slump. Why? Well, Scott's got some personal things going on in his life. Okay. Okay. Well, that could be a contributing factor. Okay, let's accept that. Um, could be political climate. Okay, well, that's the climate. Let's accept that. But at the end of the day, it's me against me in sales first. It's me
Hmm.
against everybody else second. I can just go, it's all these things. Yes, and okay, get back to work.
Love it.
But the problem with most people is they get caught up. They're like, well, here's
Hmm.
all the things that are going wrong. And then the reticular activating just goes, you know what else is wrong too? And then you know what else is wrong
Hmm.
besides that? And then I talk to everybody else. Like here's what will happen is like there's gonna be a point for somebody who's paying attention and listening that makes the choice to like, okay, I'm gonna be in charge of my thoughts. And then about 30, 45 days in, you're gonna look around and go, why is everybody in my life super negative? It's not that they just started being super negative, it's just you've changed your focus.
Hmm.
So I'll give you an example. I was in the deal of my lifetime in June of last year. There was a lot of circumstances and it was a super important deal. It was a seven-figure deal. It was a big deal. And I'm super focused on this deal, like this.
Hmm.
And then I started looking and I'm like, why are all these people distracting me? Well, that was my normal life. The distractions were normal, but because I was super zoomed in, I didn't recognize how much chaos that there was. And I want to let everybody know that there's going to be a point when you start paying attention and like, I'm going to be intentional about this. It'll seem like one day you wake up and everybody is super negative and it's like that's always the life you've had. You just didn't realize it.
Hmm.
Somebody pointed it out and like it's normal. Like it's a shock to the system. And then you're like, thank goodness Scott told me that this is normal. This is part of the gig. And then you got to make a decision and go, which way am I going to live?
Hmm.
Right. Because like this is where the inner voice kicks in and starts telling you what to do or what not to do. And so you've got a decision to make. Like, well, wait a minute. I have this advantage now. I know what everybody around me is like. I didn't pick up on it before. Thank goodness I picked up on this. Now I know who not to talk to in bad times.
Hmm.
So if there's anything that I can share that's going to be like where you're focusing on your thoughts matters, good or bad, who you're talking to, where possible, good or bad matters. And then those decisions that you make in the toughest moments matter.
Mhm.
I made a silly decision in a really tough moment of my life that had a ripple effect for a long time. And unless somebody points that out, you're never going to know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the
But
awareness of step 1, right?
there's a copywriter named John Benson, and he's got this saying I love. He says, "It's not your fault you didn't know, but now that you know, it's your responsibility."
Mhm.
So, like, there's times where I'm like, Scott, it's not your fault you didn't know, but now that you know, it's your responsibility.
Now that we know.
Yeah.
This is so good. We could go on for it, and for all of you listening. I wish we could record every conversation we have because there's so much that we always talk about that's so gold. So I love that we did this today, and I appreciate you being on. But it was time to land the plane. So, if for everybody listening, if you enjoyed this conversation and this type of training and content, this was just a taste. So we are definitely going to be doing some more stuff coming up soon, and so be on the lookout for that. And again, revisiting this, yes, we're planning on doing some trainings together on site, on your at location at your place of business. So reach out to me, Sam at closeitnow.net is my email. You can also, of course, find me all over Facebook. Join the Facebook group. And I do a coffee talk every single Friday at 10 a.m. Central that I'm not traveling and doing a training on site. I just sit and talk about this kind of stuff all the time. And it's free training within the Facebook group. And you can find me on Instagram at The Real Close It Now. And Scott, one more time, give everybody your contact and how to find you to
Yeah.
reach out to you.
I, all my channels are called HVAC Technician Sales Secrets. Like whether it's the Facebook group, whether it's the YouTube channel.
Mhm.
If you're looking for coaching, consulting, you can call or text my office 808-364-9906. Right? That's not for like free coaching and training. Like that's for setting appointments or asking about
Mhm.
services. Like I have every once in a while someone will reach me out to me like, "Hey, I'm having a problem." Like, that's why all that I got 1,200 free YouTube videos for, you know?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And if you want to know more, you can join his email publication. You get secret tips and tricks that not everybody else gets on YouTube or anywhere else. That's only released in the email publication, and they can sign up for that at.
HVACTechSecrets.com. Last week we did a whole series on discovery questions,
Sure enough.
90 minutes on discovery
Yeah,
questions.
and it was fire, everybody. So there is a replay if you would like that. Reach out to HVAC Tech Secrets. Sales to like the
HVACTechSecrets.com.
techsecrets.com. That's it.
Yep.
Did I get close on the announcement about your publication? Because I've watched your YouTube channels enough to I've tried to mimic it.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
everybody, if you watch Scott's YouTube videos, they're typically between 5 and 10 minutes, and every single one is a golden nugget, and you will hear exactly, you'll understand the little inside joke as soon as you start watching them. So sign us off, man. Appreciate you being here. I appreciate your time, and it's an honor as always. I'm grateful, and yeah, let's take us out of here.
Hey, listen, the cool thing about Sam is he brings real world experience to the table and has very good coaching and training. There's a reason why I like working with him. You have every opportunity today to set in your mind what you're going to do. Go make it a great day.
100%. Thanks, man.